Let's head to South Africa, where Opposition Democratic Alliance, DA, has approached the police and defense ministries in a bid to ensure that next week Economic Freedom Fighters' national shutdown is free of violence. DA leaders say the party would be filing for an urgent interdict at the Northern Gauteng High Court to compel the Red Berets to stay within the rule of law during next Monday's planned march. DA leader John Steenhuisen says the party wants to ensure the EFF's national shutdown takes place peacefully. But EFF spokesperson Ling Ann Marthez has labelled the DA's court bid as frivolous publicity stunt. In the meantime, Ethekwini municipality has put security personnel on high alert ahead of EFF's national shutdown plan for Monday. This comes after the opposition party warned businesses to close their doors to limit the risk of being looted. The party's mother of all shutdowns is a tactic in which they will call for President Cyril Ramaphosa to resign. Ethekwini's mayor Zolisi Kaunda says the city will leave nothing to chance if the national shutdown gains traction. Kaunda was speaking at a meeting of the city's executive committee on Tuesday. South Africa's airports company has confirmed that it received a notification of an alleged bomb on board a Singapore Airline flight on Tuesday morning. The aircraft landed at OR Tambo International Airport and is still on the ground. Emergency services were activated along with fire and rescue and South Africa police services, and the aircraft was eventually declared safe after screening was completed by K9 units. Airports company South Africa says it will continue to act swiftly to prioritize the safety of all passengers. William Els, a senior training coordinator in ENACT program in the Institute of Security Studies, joins me for Pretoria, South Africa, to unpack this latest development. Thank you for your time. All right, so let's get to it. South Africa has had a spate of terror threats and bomb alerts of recent, and this might not be the last one. How should the country's security apparatus react to this particular development?
Yes, as you rightly mentioned, sir, South Africa has been the target in recent months where we had some threats that were directed towards some parades, etc. There were also some terrorist cells that were arrested. Not that we anticipate or we think that this one was in any way linked to that. So what we saw is that they received an information about a suspected bomb. Normally that happens when someone calls either the airport in Singapore or the airport here in South Africa, which is the end destination, and then they direct a threat. That is actually unlawful in terms of the Civil Aviation Act, and severe penalties are actually dealt to people who are arrested and found guilty for this.
Now, I mean, still on this issue, what can this spike in cases be attributed to actually?
South Africa is going through some troublesome times in terms of crime. We see that transnational organized crime has spiked in recent years. We see that your violence and extremely violent incidents has also spiked. We see, for instance, your cash and transit robberies of the first 2 months of this year actually rose by 29% compared to the same period last year. And that is very troublesome because that is not the only violent crime that has spiked in recent years. And you know, this also goes because there's always a nexus between your terrorism and your organized crime. And we do not know because there's not a lot of information available about this particular incident. But as I mentioned, the nexus is there. And because of the volatile situation in South Africa, there might be some of these criminal syndicates that might take advantage of the situation.
Now, let's look at the safety of the airspace. Does this threat in any way say anything about the safety of South Africa's airspace, and can it affect, of course, the safety ratings in any way?
I don't think so. You know, I myself have been a sky marshal years ago, where I did duties on South African Airways back then, and we also received on one of the flights that I was in charge of. We received a threat while in flight from Lisbon in Portugal to Johannesburg, and unfortunately, we have some protocols in place. They are very well trained people that are actually dealing with this. So and that flight was very dealt with it in a very professional way. And there are some protocols, as I said. So, for instance, in that flight, we diverted to the nearest airport. That was Windhoek Airport in Namibia. They offloaded all the freight. It was searched, it was processed, and once the plane was then declared safe to continue, the passengers got back on and they continued to Johannesburg. So it seems that the similar protocol was implemented with this flight. You know, you cannot control these threats being directed towards your company or towards the airline. It is what is in place and how you deal with that that actually defines whether you did well. And I must say, I think that the authorities in South Africa, along with the airline of Singapore Airlines in this case, did exceptionally well. The passengers were in no time in real danger. The plane was after they landed, the passengers were removed. After they were removed, they processed the plane with the explosive dogs and the bomb technicians that searched the plane. And after that, the plane was declared safe. The plane was then allowed to continue to its end destination, which was Cape Town.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Willem.
You're welcome.